Welcome guys to another little video. Now today we're going to do some adjustments on our research because in the last video we moved most of our logic and everything away from this monoscript and went to a data script instead. And so by doing that we've made it pretty staticky, but for the most part, it will work just fine. And we have that, but that's next on my list to do. Now let's take a look at this one and go to declaration. Okay, so in this script is pretty much our logic where we do everything, right? But because of the way we used to have it, this was a mono and it was hard to get a hold of and other stuff. So we moved our scripts into more of a data layer and then a visual layer, because the visual layer just doesn't need to do as much. Well, it still does pretty much everything, but the thing about it is everything in this class right here is very accessible if we need to, and we can just set functions to do one specific thing, and it doesn't have to be instantiated at, when the level loads up and when we're in the menu. This class will always exist. Okay, that's the benefit of it. We don't have to do any singleton pattern design or anything like that. We don't really care that this one little script is sitting here, because it doesn't really have an update method or anything else inside of it. The only thing that, it's like a piece of paper, okay? You have a piece of paper before you get to class, and you start writing, and then, you leave with it, right? So basically we're carrying around a notebook with everything. And this right here, because it's a mono, you have to attach a script to something, and then if you go from one level to the next, your data is therefore unloaded and you have to instantiate new stuff. Which, is fine for some cases, but in other cases, it just freaking sucks, right? Because we need all of our stuff. And we just can't monkey around and have memory just allocated where it doesn't need to be, right? So in our research class right here, this class right here is pretty much nothing. Okay? It's pretty much nothing. So the reality of it is, if we go through here and delete all this stuff, delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this, this, and this, and this, our script becomes very small, very, very easy to work with. Okay, so if you actually really think about this, okay, we still do referencing and stuff like that, okay, but if you think about it, like really big time, the only thing that it would be instantiating is this stuff right here, this. These functions really don't exist in memory and stuff because they're calls, right? So these wouldn't be allocating memory like you'd think. This is just a reference call and things like that, okay? So this would leave the least amount of footprint per level, right? Versus 1, 2, a list, an asset bundle, another object reference, a queue, And then there's probably some other stuff in here too, right? So this very, very small, this probably a heck of a lot bigger. And the benefit of this is if you wanted to go from one level to the next and you didn't want your research assets to become, crap, you could always go, hey, this is all my stuff at the end of the level. Put this into the queue, but before you put this stuff into the queue and everything, wait, we don't even use this queue yet? Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, actually, no, we don't use this queue yet because this queue isn't going to be a string. We are actually, yeah, it is going to be a string. Wait a minute, so I don't actually have anything to do yet? Actually, yeah, we actually probably, yeah, we actually do this. But we don't have a thing in here to add buttons yet, do we? Okay. And how this works is research queue, okay, if research queue dot count is greater than 0. So if there's nothing in the queue, then we need to do something, right? And it's probably going to be a string. And I'm going to call this item for consistency equals string research queue dot dequeue. Okay, and this is a function. All right, so we're dequeuing, which means basically we remove it out of the queue and we put it here, right? So in order to add buttons, we just call add buttons. So we take this and go add buttons, and it requires a string because we instantiate through asset bundles. And the reason why we instantiate out of asset bundles is because if we use a save method, game objects cannot serialize. But if you use asset bundles to get an item out, you use a string. And then you have to cast it to a game object or whatever it was before it was bundled. If it was a texture bundle, then it's a texture. If it's a game object, then it's a game object. You have to cast it to the same thing. If you cross it over from a game object to a texture, it will do something error-like, some kind of exception. I have no clue. I've never tried because I just followed the API. But if you don't know, then, do it and let it air out, and then, you know what it does then, right? So we've just added asset bundles to be instantiated based on the queue. So in a single frame, it's only going to pull out one. And the reason why we do this is because if we go from a save method, we save this, and then we go to the next level, we're going to slam everything in the queue, okay? Which means this could be one button, or maybe it could be 20. We do not want to instantiate 20 game objects in a single frame. Holy crap, that would slow down our program dramatically. And two, we have other systems that will do pretty much the same thing. So we have to kind of flatten it out. Your game's going to run easily 60 frames a second. So if you have 4 systems, each one of them instantiates something for, we're going to get 4 every frame. So if your game like pauses for like 5 seconds in the start, people are just gonna go, oh, it's just loading stuff, or it's just loading things. They expect a loading screen of some form a little bit, which is just the way it is. That's how the gaming world works. You go from one level to the next on a lot of games. You're gonna have a loading screen. It's not gonna be very slow, but let's just cop it down to, let's try to delegate that to the very minimal impact. Besides, using this method, you only have 4 versus maybe your 20, so that hard hiccup won't exist. So when the game actually starts, this object right here, the research thing, when it does its start method up here, it starts a coroutine, and then we could do an initial spawn. This actually disable itself. Okay, we do panel.disable, right? And this should be at the end. Okay. So everything executes the way it's supposed to. And this update never gets disabled. So that's how that works. This mono never gets disabled. Remember, we have this in a parent object, and we're just disabling the child when the panel actually closes. Oh, and I deleted that. Pretty it up a little. Okay, and there we go. So that's how that works. But in all honesty, this could be running, because they're not automatically going to go to research, so this will always be running in the background. So you're going to instantiate all your buttons like kind of in the background when people don't really care. It's just like with building modes and stuff like that. I've slammed a lot of this in here, and it leaves a pretty good footprint for instantiating game objects and stuff. But the thing about it, it doesn't really pause your thing. You can instantiate a lot of game objects in a single frame. But since we're stretching it out beyond 1 frame, you probably will never even notice. Not unless you have like 1,000 buttons. But, like I said, you're going to be running 60 frames, and if it starts to slow down, it's still only going to instantiate X amount of times. So, it's like ray casting. You never want to throw too many rays in a single frame. Don't ever do that. That's bad. Okay, so let's look at our panel object first thing, and I want to go into here to go to declaration. Remember when I said this right here, don't worry about it if you don't have it? Well, guess what? It's gone. Done. Doesn't exist anymore. So I didn't lie to you. It doesn't matter about this. Okay, so panel object goes back to 2 functions, open and close. And we're going to look at research. Okay, we got a transform and a static reference. Okay, we set the reference here in start. We go data research data dot research panel equals this dot research panel. Now, if you don't remember, because this is static and everything else, and this is a pure class, it's not attached to a game object. It's purely there, the whole entire program. And we can't see this to drag a game object in here. So we need a reference to this. So we use this mono behavior, because this is a mono behavior. I know it says panel object, but just in case you don't know, we're going to seek this definition. Okay, panel object inherits from base object. Oh, well, guess what? Base object is a mono behavior. So there you go. Very, very just pretty much cop it up to a mono behavior. Okay, so transform. This is using serializable fields, so it's private to every other script. This is the only place that it actually exists. So we're setting a reference, and we're using this mono behavior to start a coroutine. In weapon research data, I've been using too much of my FPS thing. I'm thinking weapon data. Blech. Yeah. Okay. Get asset, and we do stream and asset path, because this will give us a path to our stream and assets, which you could do a lot of things too, but that's for another thing. And then we do panel.close. So it closes the child thing, our panel that we don't want to see during runtime. And that's pretty much it. And we have our update that runs every single frame, called the static on update. Because this is a pure class like this, and not on the main thread like the thread, or we could create our own thread for this using a time span object or anything like that. But the thing about it is, if we created our own thread from here, we would have an issue with, we would have to join it back up to the Unity's main thread, which would cause all kinds of complications, because you have to call a coroutine, and it's just dumb. We don't need it to do that, because we just use a mono behavior in a state machine setup, like we have been, to do an update whenever we need one somewhere. But this has its own little update, and all it does is makes our buttons count up. That's it. Boom. Done. That's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. We don't have leaking or anything else. Current research. None. Now these, all the same. They're just disabling game objects and stuff. Pretty simple stuff. So this research class, done. And that deals with all the monos. Okay? Now, for my personal favorite, this static class right here. Reference, reference, reference. Just a list of strings. Our asset bundle reference. And our item reference stuff. And our queue, which I've already explained what that does. Research, if it's not null, then counter goes up, and then it does do work, which you already know what do work does for research. It just increases the time thing on our button. If you don't know how this works and everything else, this hasn't changed one bit. Look at my other research video, and it will tell you, because it would just be pointless for me to explain something 100 times. Now this is a static do work. This is called by the button. It passes the object to do the research.count stuff. Research, DQ, blah, blah. Actually, what? Do work. Why does it do the Q there? Oh, I put it in the wrong. Oh, yeah. That's dumb. Yep, my bad. Durr. Big red truck. Timer based on delta time, you know what that is. Okay, now do work if work. This just sets a variable up here, you know, this current research stuff, so that way the timer does stuff, right? And then our add buttons. If our list doesn't contain this string that we pass, if it returns true here, like it contains it, this stuff right here never gets executed. So we never instantiate double the buttons or anything like that. So we do a temporary game object because we need to pull something out and tell it this temporary object from the asset bundle is a game object and you're going to put it here. Okay? Because we can't do something like instantiate game object, blah blah and stuff. It can return an error because it needs you to pull memory out and go, hey, this is what I got. Boom. Okay? It's like, this is my cup, this is my water. Okay? After I do this, I've got a cup of water. So I instantiate the cup of water and parent it to the research panel. That's one reason why we need this reference up here to the research panel, is because of this stuff right here. And then we have our data object, which this right here goes to the unlock script. This hasn't changed a bit, except we use the queue to enqueue the research stuff. That's not that big of a deal. The item stuff hasn't changed. This hasn't changed. This hasn't changed. And this hasn't changed. This is hard-coded in because we need one single button to be instantiated, so that way this button can lead to other buttons, unlock other tech, you know, like a tree. Hey, I can't, like, know, you know, I can't, you know, eat food until I'm born yet, right? Well, you know, if I'm still a baby in my mom, you know, and not all that stuff, I can't, you know, eat food yet. I've got to be born and grow a little, and then I can eat food, right? And that's the same way the research works. You need a button, and that button leads to other buttons and other technologies. We are going to be increasing the amount of tech and stuff like that later on, but this will get you started into the research. And two, I think the static class will work out a lot better now because of, you know, referencing, and we don't have to worry about the memory allocated per level. All I have to do is slap my mono in the level, and this will be here. If I, you know, am in one level, like let's say we have a shop, you know, we have a UI menu thing, okay? This is the reason why I went this way too. If we have a menu, right, let's say this menu right here is for me shopping in the beginning screen, and I wanted to buy a bunch of tech before I even do my whole doodah thing, right? Well, guess what? Because I have this done this way and all that good stuff, because this class is static, I can buy all the tech that I want, okay? To have the research done when I get to the level, all it's going to do is put stuff in the queue. Okay, I'll sit here and say buy. And let's say I buy like 10 different research packs. So when I get into the level, I'm going to have a significant technology like boost, right? Well, when I have that technology boost like that, when I get to the level, I'm going to already have that stuff researched, so I don't have to do it again. Two, because it's static, I'm not going to unload that information and load that information. It's never going to be instantiated more than one time. So when I get to the level, it's all that stuff's going to be in the queue. And when that stuff's in the queue, it will do what it needs to do. Okay? It will go to the next technology and the next technology and the next technology. Because whenever the key is taken, like in my game right here, okay, I have this turret right here. Well, because the key doesn't exist, I don't get access to the upgrade here. But if I were in the start menu, like in a shop thing, before this level even exists, I could give myself the key so that I can do the upgrade. And I don't have to worry about unloading that information or anything else. I never have to worry about that. So I could go to 10 different levels and never have to worry because I'm going to have this upgrade available. Versus if it was a mono behavior, I have to find a way to save it and load it every single level. If I don't do that, I have to use a singleton pattern. Then I have to worry about instantiation and destroy, okay? Because we're going to have this script in every single level, but if I already have one, then I destroy the other one. Well, that just sounds like more memory allocations, right? So I use a static class like we have to only instantiate it one time. And for the life of the program, until you exit out of the program, it will always exist. So that key with that list already exists. I don't even have to have this script right here in the game. Okay, to unlock this technology, I could remove this research one and never have it in this level. But if I'm in the current, if I'm in this level and I go upgrade, the key exists because the class already exists. So my research thing right here, the research, if I took my research button out of here, okay, and the modes panel, okay, and I never had research, that technology is still available to me because the keys and everything still exist. So even though I haven't researched this stuff, well, guess what? It still exists. It's still there and it's still good. Okay. And that's the beauty of having a nice little static class like that. Any key you need or anything like that, it's already there. It does mean you only get one. Okay, you can't instantiate multiple copies of it. But like I said, who wants a research panel 3 or 4 times? It's going to have the same crap and everything else. And there's other things that you can do about it and everything. You can make this multiplayer and everything else and still use static classes like this. You just have to do a few extra lines of code to block out anybody else from doing certain things. Like, if this is mine, do this. If it's not, don't do anything. But, yeah. So, boom. There we go. And, look, it's still running at like 60-some frames. Okay? Which is great. I mean, and I don't even have this on a great computer either. And it's still running good. And I'm recording too. And these are live bullets and everything. So there you go. 60 frames, 60 frames, 60 frames. Just like crazy. Okay? And this is using Raycast. This is using Raycast to place stuff in the ground. On the ground. And this is Unity's navigation doing this. All these little blocks coming right here, Unity's navigation. So, yeah. Very, very good little setup. So, you know. Well, I think this video has gone by long enough. It's been 30 minutes, and like I said, I hope this opens your eyes and you code a little differently sometimes, or you learn something cool. Sorry it's a little fast, but in all honesty, if you wanted to know what the code was and everything else and it went a little too fast, you could always hit the pause button. I mean, come on. Alright? So, want you guys to take care and hit subscribe. Don't forget, hit the little bell if you are not subscribed yet so you get notifications for new stuff. And like this video so that I know to continue this series, because that's how I know, hey, you guys are watching and you enjoy stuff. So if you don't like it, that's how I know not to even continue this series. I enjoy the tower defense things because it's different and it has its own unique problems. Like angle stuff and shooting and raycast and stuff like that, which we're probably going to get a few different types of towers, but we need some modeling done and things, that kind of stuff. But thank you much and take care, guys. Peace.